what's going on next door? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, why wouldn't somebody, a legitimate medical group, want to be known? And what if it's Planned Parenthood? A good guy, he said, well, it would be legal if it was. And I said, yeah, well, that's comforting. So what do we do? It's a scary thing for a pregnancy center to be right in front of, so to speak, in the face of the evil one.
What would you do if an abortion facility moved in right next door to you? Well, our next guest, Dr. Richard Mantoan, had to answer this exact question. What was he going to do when a Planned Parenthood abortion facility was building and constructing right next door to his office? And we're so glad to have Dr. Richard Mantoan on the program today to answer that incredibly important question. And also, what are we going to continue to do as we move forward into the next year and the next year as we continue to build the pro-life movement? Here in the United States today, unfortunately, there isn't an appetite for a 100% ban on abortions nationwide. But in fact, most people want to protect women, want to protect children. They also want to protect life, the life of the preborn here in our community. What they're not quite ready for are some of these rare cases, these so-called exceptions to abortion. And how can we move the needle to ultimately help people understand that they can, in fact, protect life, protect women, and also be able to do it without abortion here in our United States? My name is Brian Westbrook, and this is Living Pro-Life. Hello and welcome to Living Pro-Life. My name is Brian Westbrook and I'm the Executive Director of Coalition Life. And my next guest is Dr. Richard Mantoan from the incredible city of Flossmoor, Illinois. Great dear friend, an activist on the sidewalk, and a gentleman who is fighting the good fight to ultimately see an end to abortion, not just in Illinois, but also across the great nation. Doctor, welcome to the program.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
One of the things I've always been interested in when we talk about these issues of abortion is how people have gotten involved. So let's start there. What's your pro-life story? How did you first decide, hey, I'm going to do some pro-life work?
Well, I was asked to first be on the Respect Life ministry in our parish, local parish. I had good friends. And then my wife, Karen, and I were asked to be present at an abortion facility during a 40 Days for Life, which I wasn't familiar with at the time. And it was a very interesting, uncomfortable, but significant experience. So the public prayer was something still I was not used to. The whole idea of abortion needed to be revealed to me. So this is recent history. I mean, within the last 15 years. I have a long history, And so I'm relatively new to the pro-life movement compared to so many beautiful younger people, yourself being included, that go back many more years. It's all a blessing of God. I really highly recommend going further back than my pro-life movement for other people is to read a book, The Prayer of Jabez. Very simple 4-line prayer. Lord, bless me indeed. Expand my territory. Let your hand be always with me and keep me from the evil one, because I don't want to cause pain. This is the Old Testament. And God granted him his wish, and he was a righteous man. And a simple prayer given to me by a receptionist that I had on staff in early 2000. And it just set me on a path that I thought it was going to be from a professional standpoint for my practice. And it honestly was, but it led to being where I am today, which was really understanding my faith better, giving me a purpose, setting me on a path that I would have never imagined, and God's great plan for all of our lives. So that's the thing I want to stress. Everybody has a plan. I couldn't figure out my plan as a teenager. Who am I? The issue was, who are you? What's your identity? And it was so elusive to me, but it took many years to discover God had my identity. I didn't have to figure it out. So anyway, that led to the pro-life movement and mentors along the way. And then I decided to lead a campaign, totally unprepared. I was 10 miles from where I lived was the Orland Park campaign of 40 Days for Life. Nice young lady led it. I got to know her pretty well. And I got an email saying, oh, it's the last day to claim a campaign. And she wasn't claiming it. Well, I decided to claim it. And
well, anyone who says email marketing doesn't work, here's evidence right here, right?
That's right. And, the right person is somewhere, in God's plan. So I led this Orland Park campaign for several years. To my consternation, next door to my dental practice, during the year of 2017, was being restored right next door. This older building, it was being restored because it had been vacant a few years. Huge restoration. I went to the village. What's going on next door? And they said, oh, the medical group is coming in. And I was happy about that because I like to make relationships with other healthcare professionals. So they gave me a number. I couldn't make contact with an attorney. He wouldn't return calls. And the summer was going on. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, why wouldn't somebody, a legitimate medical group, want to be known prior to moving into a new community? So I went back to the village. I said, hey, I'm not getting anywhere. And then literally, I asked them, what if it's Planned Parenthood? And
Wow.
a good guy that, is in the zoning department. I dealt with him on different issues for my practice. He said, well, he had a real kind of strange look on his face. Well, what, it would be legal if it was. I didn't give any satisfaction. The year rolls into 2018, the day after Martin Luther King Day. The sign is revealed, Planned Parenthood, right next door. And I wasn't totally surprised, but it was a crisis. And the people I'm involved with in Respect Life, the good people, the very good people, holy people, and significant people, consequential people, they knew how to do things and accomplish things. One was even senior counsel for Americans United for Life, living in the town right next to where I lived. Okay, what do we do? I kind of reached out to my friends in the ministry, Respect Life Ministry at our parish. They organized this group and we're meeting within a week. What do we do? Well, I knew what I could do. I can lead a 40 Days for Life campaign.
Yeah.
So that was going to start in February. This is January. I sent the email to 40 Days for Life. Hey, I think we have a new campaign here. I didn't sign up to lead this campaign in the time frame, but I want to lead a campaign within 3 weeks. So they made a campaign for me. We started working on not just 40 Days for Life, but how do we get a pregnancy help center in the area?
Yeah.
So that started a vetting process. Again, the people there were sent by God because the Respect Life ministers that got me involved in all this, one was on Illinois Right to Life board, and one was on the board for Aid for Women. So we didn't want to just go directly to Aid for Women. They wanted a good vetting process. So we looked at a number of different pregnancy help centers in the area, and there are a number of good ones. We chose Aid for Women because it had certain things that were proven. Lo and behold, and then it's so funny. They're saying, where are we going to put this thing? Should it be? Because, it's a scary thing for a pregnancy center to be right in front of, so to speak, in the face of the evil one.
Yeah.
There was consultation. There was, should it be down the street? And I'm out there leading the 40 Days for Life campaign, literally looking at Planned Parenthood, and right next door, an empty space. Empty. I said, what are we talking about? It's right next door. That's where we go. So they talked to the landlord. They got the space up. Planned Parenthood started January of 18. Aid for Women opened in March of 19. It was just God's work all over the place. What a blessing. And right from that, they didn't have escorts out there at that time.
And what's an escort? Those listening?
Is the interference mechanism to interrupt sidewalk advocates, sidewalk counseling from being effective. So they'll barge in your way where the logistics of the Flossmoor Planned Parenthood. There's an apron on a driveway that's public property, no fencing, no gates. We had clear sight line to the entrance of the building. So we had an opportunity to say, hey, I got some information for you. And it was very effective. The escort is going to try to block that from happening. So after they opened, they had escorts for a little while, but I don't think the volume in their mind dictated having an escort at the time, or escorts. That's changed over time, but we have a really good way of interacting with people coming in, people driving by, to kind of give them a heads up. You know where you're driving by an abortion facility.
Yeah.
You should know that because it's not safe for our community having it here.
We got to know each other not long after that.
That's right.
And Flossmoor became the first satellite office of Coalition Life. We've now added Carbondale, Illinois, and also Kansas City, and we're looking into other places here. God willing, God will lead us to our next location. But tell me about that first meeting and what, if anything, Coalition Life has done there at that location. What have you seen on the ground?
Well, I've seen nothing but blessings. The summer of, maybe it was 21 or 22, up pops Brian Niehaus and a couple of your staff wondering if Flossmoor might be a good site for sidewalk counseling. So when I got involved with 40 Days for Life, good people came out to participate. A good friend, Jim, and myself figured we can do this more than 40 days. So we would be out there, sidewalk counseling, two people, how long can you do it? Brian was saying, we're here every day they're open, every hour they're open. Really? And, and so they got the logistics, they saw opportunity, and by the grace of God, shortly after that, you said, okay, let's make this work. So we've seen the ability to impact lives every day, and the workers. Yeah. I mean, the huge aspect of, I love the interaction with the workers. Who knows how far it goes, but there's always a constant turnover of staff at an abortion facility. And if you're there letting them know you care about them, it can only benefit them in the best way possible. So you guys, I just can't overstate the gratitude I feel for what you brought to Flossmoor and wherever you're at. It's such a help for the 40 Days for Life mission, that people have in their heart. And it just adds layers that couldn't be there otherwise.
Frankly, I think this is a God's plan. Why would God allow for a Planned Parenthood to be located right next to your building? And of course, then the pregnancy center opens. And of course, why would this, St. Louis group end up in Chicago? I don't know, but there we are. Like, all the pieces in the puzzle are coming together. And, we've seen a lot of impact there. We've seen a lot of turnarounds, a lot of new people getting involved as well. So tell me about, how do we get those people who aren't currently in the pro-life movement, and how can we bring them into the fold? We were talking about earlier that that's probably the biggest need of the pro-life movement today. Some of our other guests on the program were talking about how abortion as a black or white issue in our country right now, it's not really a black or white issue. Like, you could ask someone about slavery and everyone would say slavery is wrong, or at least 99.9% of people would say slavery is wrong. And it's kind of like a black and white issue. Abortion right now seems to be somewhat of a gray area. And like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? So I know that you have the great privilege of now being retired. So congratulations on retirement. What can you tell those who maybe are in a similar situation? In fact, there's going to be quite a few. I mean, the baby boomer generation, if I can call you the baby boomer generation,
That is.
Is now rushing into retirement like never before, and looking for places to get involved. So tell us about that experience and how people can get involved in the pro-life movement, and then maybe talk about that whole of bringing people into the fold.
Well, that's the biggest challenge in our faith, isn't it? To get people really to understand the faith. Being involved on such a close level to abortion, being there every day is really so important. There's no way around that at this time in our history. We have to have that present. But I'm hoping to create, I've been trying to figure out how to be more effective reaching out to our parishes, reaching out to my parish and help them. I've talked in front of the parish after masses, trying to spur interest in the fact that they could walk to an abortion facility from where they're sitting. Going out there and praying is not scary. It's safe in our circumstance. We have cooperation with the police, but it's so significant when somebody's out there, because when somebody's out there, something can affect that person's decision making. When
Right.
nobody's out there, that doesn't happen. It's impossible unless, God just is in their heart, and grace of God is everywhere. But we know when we're out there, we have an effect. So I just have been really looking for a way of expanding. So I wasn't getting very far. I'll tell you. It's like maybe it's my face, maybe I'm an old white man. I don't know what. How can they relate to me? So it really wasn't getting much traction. So the beautiful thing, and again, this is where the prayer comes in. The beautiful thing this year, we just did a baby bottle fundraising for Aid for Women. And Connie at Aid for Women said, hey, I have this volunteer that would like to give the pitch for the fundraiser for Aid for Women.
Yeah.
And she's a beautiful Black lady. And I was so excited to hear that. That's who this community needs. Somebody that can identify with the person going in for the abortion. She gave a wonderful talk, and we had a real nice fundraiser, and she's part of our parish. I couldn't have made that happen. Then at the same time, remember, actually right before that, in April of this year, Cardinal Supich, our archdiocese, came out with a synod document. Now the synod with Pope Francis started, was supposed to touch bases with the communities, find out what they're thinking, and spur movement, spur action in our faith. And I couldn't believe it. I'm reading the synod came out with a document, Life is Always a Good, a pontifical document that is the framework for parishes to implement respect for life. I'm thinking, Cardinal Supich, Chicago, the guy that gave the speech at the Democratic Convention. I'm so happy to see this come out of our archdiocese. So we're in the process of we're going to meet with the people in the archdiocese that really the Respect Life team. And we're going to see where we can actually bring the parish to recognize the importance of life issues and hopefully bring an understanding of our faith and what we're really supposed to be doing in relation to abortion, euthanasia, the death penalty, assisted suicide, all the life issues. And this is so exciting to me because this is where we have to go as a faith community, to our faith. I mean, if the faith isn't there, how can you entice somebody to want to stand out? Like you feel like, you're out in public, you're naked with a rosary. That's
Hopefully you're not naked with a rosary. That's not what we're.
They feel like they're exposed, they're vulnerable, they're not prepared to do something like that when they don't really have a connection with issue to begin with, from an understanding of the gravity of the issue and the ease with which they could be consequential faces of Jesus, where this is needed. Ultimately, God's answering prayers. When this happened, that's nothing but the hand of God moving through our faith and all faith communities, I believe. And I'm just so heartened by the opportunities, because we live in a liberal area. We don't live in a dogma area. Great Pride Month is, the flags are within a couple 100 feet of our church. But there's a good way of dealing with all this to really bring people to their faith in the right way and take the fear out of things, and just show the beauty of our faith. And until this happens, we're going to keep hitting our head against the wall.
What are some minor, small, practical takeaways that for someone who's listening or watching this program, what are some takeaways you might invite them to do?
Pray. I didn't understand God. Who understands God? But it's a personal thing. It's a personal relationship. That's what I discovered late in life. And God answers prayers that are heartfelt and with the intention of doing His will. The prayer will be answered. It's not a problem. Pray on it. Let Him move you in the direction He has for you. It may be here. It may be in front of a Planned Parenthood or an abortion facility, but it'll be somewhere where you're meant to be. God will show you. Pray. Have daily prayer. Find reflection resources. Read the gospel every day. You'll be led in ways that you wouldn't have imagined. Now, I'm not, and maybe I'm talking to the choir, and I don't mean to presume that isn't the fact. But unless it's happening, you're going to struggle with life in all aspects of life. So, sorry, but that's my answer.
Pray first, and then. So, what are some practical steps after that? Maybe
see what's always been out there that now kind of has you have a different understanding of it. That's where you're supposed to go. So it'll happen because why are you praying? You're praying to try to be led, and so you're not going to have blinders on. You're going to be, I'm receptive. And it'll be understood by you. You won't have to figure it out too hard. The more you try to figure it out, the farther you're going to get from where you're supposed to go. So it creates a life of itself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Richard Mantoan, the great and amazing doctor of the great town of Flossmoor. Which my understanding has more dentists than anywhere else in the country, per capita, that is. So, anyways, I'm not 100% sure that's true, but we make fun of it.
I did demographics early in my location out there, and it was daunting. But we're not competitive. We're creative, right?
Exactly.
Be creative beings. That's what we're meant to be. And if we allow that to be our guiding principle, with God leading the creation, we're His creatures. He's the creator. Let Him guide us. It becomes so much easier.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for being on the program. I appreciate your time. And of course, thank you for your pro-life work there in Illinois.
Brian, thank you for Coalition Life and all you've done with your life. You had a clear vision, and God bless you.